with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good morning on this Wednesday. Thanks for jumping on Facebook Live for this mid-morning check. Some of the stories we are following at Erie News Now, beginning with President Biden going to deliver his first joint address to members of Congress coming up today. Days in office, Biden expected to present that policy priority list, outline his vision for the country in that address set to start at 9 o'clock this evening. Going to be some changes, obviously, from past joint addresses to Congress. The audience inside the House chamber severely limited because of pandemic rules. The White House press secretary says there won't be a designated survivor, so to speak, during the address. That's because most of the cabinet actually won't be in attendance. Now, in that address coming up this evening, a White House official says the president's going to announce $200 billion in funding for universal publicly funded pre-K, basically free preschool for American families. That's expected to direct funds to universal preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds, all part of a national partnership with states. The proposal marks a key part of Biden's so-called American Families Plan. It's going to cost, they say, roughly $1.8 trillion. Well, the ongoing effort to get more folks vaccinated against the coronavirus here in Pennsylvania is bringing Governor Wolf to town a little bit later on today. He's expected to head down to the Bayfront Convention Center around noon today, talking about the ongoing vaccination effort and what's come to be known as vaccine hesitancy, people choosing not to get the shot or in some cases skipping that second vaccine appointment out of concern that the vaccine's either ineffective, unsafe, or perhaps just unnecessary. The 72-year-old Governor Wolf was eligible to get his shot back in January, just did that though last week, saying he wanted to wait until everyone was eligible. And there's an effort underway to get some area high school students vaccinated, but it seems in at least one spot there really isn't a whole lot of demand. First off, I want to talk about Warren County, where it's a team effort involving the Warren Area School District and Warren General Hospital, looking to vaccinate students ages 16 and 17. But only the Pfizer version is approved for that age group, and the Moderna version has really been the main one available in Warren County so far. Now, Warren school officials say that a shot, that vaccination, not required. Kids under the age of 18, though, will need to get their parents' permission in order to get the shot. And according to a report in the Meadville Tribune down in Crawford County, a similar student vaccination effort, one hosted by the Crawford Central School District, that brought in fewer than 10% of eligible students. Well, breaking overnight, Erie police have charged a suspect in connection to a shooting on the city's east side. Happened at an apartment house near 8th and Brandis around 8:30 last night. A 25-year-old man rushed to the hospital in critical condition, a gunshot wound to the chest. New this morning, Erie police have charged a 30-year-old Joshua Bishop with a list of criminal counts, including attempted murder. We've learned it all centered around a dispute among neighbors at that apartment house, a dispute over trash being put into a private dumpster. At last word, that shooting victim was under intensive care at UPMC Hammett. And that shooting came about 2 hours after gunfire near West 11th and Cranberry Streets in Erie. Police confirmed 2 young men were shot here. The wounds not life-threatening. And again, no suspects in this one so far. The investigation continues. Well, out in North Carolina, a judge is expected to rule if police body camera video of the shooting of a man named Andrew Brown Jr. will be released to the public. That ruling could come today. That 42-year-old Brown was shot 4 times while trying to drive away from sheriff's deputies down in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. A private autopsy pushed by the family, that one discovered that Brown was fatally shot in the back of the head. The FBI is said to be investigating this one. The governor in North Carolina is now calling for a special prosecutor to look into this case. Meantime, demonstrators protesting that shooting, they were seen being taken into custody by authorities down in Elizabeth City overnight. The charges include curfew violations as well as blocking a highway. The mayor of Elizabeth City has now declared a state of emergency there. Well, closer to home, the Mill Creek Police Department has 5 new officers within its ranks this morning. The hires actually came not long after the township's leadership decided to, or rather was considering the decision to downsize that department. Erie News Now's Elspeth Meisner takes a closer look.
Mill Creek's police department will soon have 5 new members after a fast vote on Tuesday night.
Vote yes, Mr. President. I vote yes. I vote yes.
Mill Creek Supervisor James Bach says despite discussions of downsizing, the new officers were necessary.
It's beneficial to keep the patrol complement up. I think we need to fill these pending retirements. And I think, the patrol units, the marked units, are what people see, and that's what they've come to expect in Mill Creek, and we want to keep that level of service up.
The police chief agrees, saying the move was overdue.
Some time since we've replaced any officers that have departed due to retirements or various issues, so it's going to be beneficial to all of our citizens to have that extra, those extra people available.
Bach says the officers were well worth the money. He says they do jobs that get overlooked, but keep the community running.
They serve a vital function in townships, boroughs, and cities, and I think our residents really, expect that level of service, and we certainly want to keep that going.
Elspeth Meisner, Erie News Now.
All right, let's bring in meteorologist David Wolter. David, we saw great weather yesterday, and it looks like we're keeping it going for a little while this morning, but if you want to enjoy it, I suppose the time to do that is just about now.
Yeah, we are seeing some decent weather as we work our way later in the morning, and then once we get into the afternoon, we do have that chance for some of those scattered showers and thunderstorms, and that's obviously a big part of the forecast. We haven't really seen many thunderstorms so far. Obviously, we're kind of early in our true thunderstorm season, but we do have that risk for today. 74 degrees. It has been very, very mild out there. Winds a little breezy from the southwest, and that will continue to allow those temperatures to stay up. And the warmer it is, the more unstable the atmosphere can become, and we've got a low pressure system off to our west. So all of this is coming together to allow for some of those storms to pop, especially a little bit later on in the afternoon. I would say the primary threat for severe weather between about 3 and 8 o'clock. And of course, we could have some of those showers and storms in the early afternoon, but we do have that window where a few of the storms could possibly produce some strong damaging winds, even isolated hail. The tornado threat is very, very low, but it's not completely zero. So really wind and hail going to be the primary risk in this area right here. This is a slight risk as put out by the Storm Prediction Center in Oklahoma. And you can see this covers most of the tri-state area in between Cleveland all the way to Buffalo, even down towards the Pittsburgh area. So again, this is really as we work our way through the afternoon. Of course, we're always on top of things. Your First Warning Weather team, we got you covered. We got you covered on air. If there is a severe thunderstorm warning, we may do a quick cut-in during a commercial break. You can also find us live on Facebook, as well as the latest postings on Twitter and our Erie News Now website. So you need all these different tools so that you can get the warnings as effectively as possible. Temperatures, right now we are in the lower and middle 70s out there. Temperatures have really rapidly warmed up this morning. 68 in Warren, 69 right now in Jamestown. It helps whenever you don't cool down a whole lot on the overnights. Again, another look outside. We are looking out towards Presque Isle Bay, of course, Misery Bay actually, and you can actually see the Perry Monument right there. So we've got some activities going on this afternoon. I know for some folks maybe heading out to the peninsula, a little afternoon, a jog, whatever you do have planned. It's not going to be a bad afternoon, but keep in mind we do have that storm potential around. And right now we can see some of the showers and storms over there towards Canada, a little bit of rain moving through Detroit. So we'll still give this as we get into the afternoon for those storms to fire up a little bit more our way. And you can see that future cast not bringing us a whole lot of activity during the afternoon. It's a little sluggish on forming the storms, but I think they'll be popping even before 6 o'clock. But it looks like we might have the greatest coverage of some of those storms around the early evening hours. If you do have any grilling plans outside, just make sure that you do have the option to kind of slide things indoors, just in case you get one of those big soakers. Once we get into the overnight, though, that's when the rain really starts to reemerge. It may initially dry out just a little bit, but then those showers will really be coming back in late tonight and then into your Thursday. We got some rounds of rain coming, so it could be rather soggy overall, but it has been fairly dry for this month. Not overly concerned about flooding, but we could certainly have some big puddles form out there. We're going to talk about your week ahead coming up in just one moment.
First off, you were watching the red carpet action from last weekend's Academy Awards ceremony. You may have noticed the gold Crocs that musician Questlove had on his feet. Well, it seems Questlove's not the only one who's fond of the often mocked footwear. While most Crocs aren't gold, they are apparently overall selling like that rare commodity. Comfort-seeking consumers buying up those Crocs like they're going out of style. Crocs are apparently in style if you look at the star-studded team of collaborators that the company is now partnering with. We're talking the names like Post Malone, Justin Bieber, And on Tuesday, the folks at Crocs reported that their sales had surged 64% in just the first quarter of 2021. Some $460 million worth of Crocs sales in the first couple months of the year. All right, it's a luxury housing development over in London that's now preparing to open up a transparent bottom pool, one that could have you gulping when you take a look at the view from 115 feet above ground. The so-called sky pool, 82 feet long, stretched between the 10th stories of 2 residential skyscrapers, apparently only open, though, to the apartment complex's lucky residents. They're calling this one the largest freestanding acrylic pool structure in the world. It was manufactured apparently in Colorado, then shipped 5,000 miles to its new home, 10 feet deep. The water alone reportedly weighs some 400 tons. Yeah, a clear pool, 10 stories up in the air. I'm going to have to say no thanks, David. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm not the greatest with heights. I mean, I love
neither.
pools, don't get me wrong, but being able to see all the way down to the ground when you're, hundreds of feet up in the air, yeah. No thanks from me. As we look ahead, you can see today we got temperatures actually closing in on that 80-degree mark. Tomorrow is looking fairly wet, but of course we do have the storm potential during the afternoon. Scattered storms. If you missed out on the wet weather today, you'll certainly get it for Thursday. Thursday looks to be pretty wet for a good chunk of the day. A couple early showers on Friday, temperatures coming back down, but you can see we get into May. We're closer to 60, and we're feeling pretty good by Sunday. Next week could be a little more active as we could have a couple of rounds of storm systems roll on through, and that will increase those rain chances.
And we've got our next full report, 30 minutes of news, coming your way at noon on WSEE. Erie News Now Sunrise starts at 5 o'clock Thursday morning. We'll see you then.